Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about, I'm not even sure what to really entitle this video, but it's going to be pertaining to my family life, and a lot of it is connected with lack of it, I should say. Well, the thing about it is this. I'm going to try to be as honest as I possibly can on this. Now, as far as my family and I, there's really essentially not much of a family life right now that I have. I don't know if I'm going to expound or elaborate on these reasons behind that. A lot of it is attributed to a number of my family members that were prominent in my life have passed away. My grandmother died in 2011. My grandfather died in 1993 of a heart attack. Both of them were on my mother's side of the family. And the reality is that when we look at our family, sometimes, I mean, most of us have families that we get together with very consistently, whether it's biological in-laws, husband and wife. Part of the reason I don't have a family now, maybe it's at least subconsciously by choice, as many of you may know. I don't want to sound overly redundant with this, but I have no significant other. I have not, maybe I haven't made enough effort to find one, so I haven't really ever started having my own family for me. And uh, the thing about this is my father had passed away in 1974. He died of Hodgkin's disease. And at that time, they didn't have any chemotherapy slash radiation treatment for it. So he succumbed to that. And thing is, sometimes we have to create our own family. We can look at I think we could have friendships that can really be strong like family members. We could look at some friends that we have that are like simulated family members to us, like surrogate family members. The problem only with that is that it doesn't change the fact that you might feel a sort of lack for not having that actual family experience. You still feel that there's some deprivation there, I think, for most people, and myself included. There's that sense of lack. And it's a lot of people don't understand what it's like to have virtually no family, and really, unless they experience it. There's many of us that have family, but they have maybe there might be dissension between them and family members, or there's some disconnect somewhere. So, and then you have other people that for some reason they have their family members real consistent, constant communication with them, and and there's no virtually no disconnect with it. And I envy those people that have that regular situation, that they do have their consistent communications with them or what have you. And I encourage those out there that if they feel that there anyone that's watching, the few people that watch this video, they have an opportunity to reconcile with a family member, go ahead and do so, because you might not get another chance, and we don't know when our last days are. Um, the thing too is, as far as family goes, uh, I had some uproarious experiences in my younger years. I just basically have memories mainly from that. I don't even have any photo albums or anything. I have nothing which I can actually reflect on or reminisce about as far as anything connected with my family. But I did have some funny moments. I can remember my grandfather, God rest his soul, was having an argument with my mother one time. And what happened was my grandfather was on one side of a window. He was on the outside. My mother was on the inside of that window. And what happened was my grandfather was trying to talk about Jesus and religion with her, and my mom mocked him and said, well, Jesus says, and she pulled a shade out on him during the conversation. And Then there was another instance where I think my grandmother may have done a little acting job, and what happened was she fell down onto the floor in an apartment I was staying in at the time. It was owned by my grandmother. It was a two-family house situation, and um, she fell to the ground. She was laying on her back, and during an argument with my mother. And what happened was my mother just walked over her and said, "Excuse me," acting almost oblivious to my grandmother laying on the floor. My grandmother, I believe, got up shortly afterwards. But I mean, the only thing that I have really mainly with family is just memories, just some funny, uproarious moments. I remember my grandmother on my mother's side is arguably, God rest her soul, the most loyal and steadfast of all my family members. I can remember one time when I was in New York, I can remember some people were heckling me, and I had talked to my grandma about that, and she said to me, "Well, Eddie, if they say anything to you on your way out when you go wherever you're going when you leave here, I'm going to basically tell them off if they say something to you." And she would be the type that would stick up for me and stand by me where other people were too afraid to do so, or didn't want to get involved in whatever excuse they had. And to me, I can't express, I mean, I can't express enough gratitude for that. I mean, when I look back on that, I think she'll go down probably as the best family member I ever had. I really believe that, and she did love me like a mother did. And but right now, what I basically have to do in talking about improvising is, well, I might not ever have that significant other, and maybe I won't create my own family. Who knows what's going to happen as far as that goes. But I think what I'm saying though is that in life, as I stated previously, we may just have to look at maybe people that we feel a close connection with. It's funny that you can look at, uh, they talk about a lot of like friendships connections you have on social media. A strong percentage of them can be very superficial, don't get me wrong. But I think you still could have close connections with people on social media. I have a few people on Facebook that I've never met in person that I do feel very close to. There may be a couple that I may see as like kind of like simulated family members, maybe two or three people that I see on there as that, actually, to be honest with you. So the thing is, those of you out there that are in a similar situation with me, and you don't really have many or if not no, if you either have little or no family members that you have consistent communications with or contact with, and if you don't even have your own family set yet, then there's always something out there. Probably, the situation could be such where you might have to, like I said, about improvising, and understand that you could still have a connection from people, even if they're not related to you, whether it's by marriage or whether it's biological. It's not like the end of the world. Yes, I understand. Sometimes we become indignant. We see, well, this person has all this, they have their family, they go out, they go to places together with them, they have like 10, 15, 20 people, maybe sometimes they go all out together, and they have all this fun. They get involved with frolicking and merrymaking around Christmas time, those that celebrate it. And I understand how one can become envious of that, because what it is a lot of times those of us that are in I don't know if you want to say predicament or situation where you have little or no contact with family anymore, you look at this and you think, well, why, I wish I had this. Well, the problem is when you do that, you get yourself into trouble, because that's when you can become overly despondent and really sad and dejected, because you see that these other people have this and that you don't. The only thing you can do is maybe find the right people out there, even on social media on occasion. Most times you can't do this, but in some instances you can, or whether it's very strong friendships that you know in your area that you form that close friendship with, and you can feel a certain closeness with some people as if they were family members. I mean, some people get their love even from their pets, and to some degree it's not the same as humans. I understand that, but some people have very strong compassion, love toward their cats, toward their dogs. I can remember my mother used to have almost like she'd be talking to the cat like it was a person. I used to get a kick out of it, and she said something about the cat's name was Felix, and she said, "Well, what's the something about Felix? What's the Dow Jones report today?" And I can remember her starting a conversation with the cat, and she started off by saying, "Mr. Felix," and then she would just kind of ramble on and start talking to the cat, and I used to get a kick out of it. But the thing is, I guess what I'm saying in short, people, in summation, is that no family doesn't mean no hope, and it doesn't mean you can't derive happiness in other ways with other people that aren't technically your family. So I really, and that's really pretty much it what I wanted to get on with this. And I do, and for those of you out there that do have prodigious families and you have constant, consistent connections and communications with them, then you know what, more power to you. That is great. I'm not saying that's not good. It's better if you have a situation where you have a good sized family and you have the right connection with them, and it's not about them contacting you just because they want something, because those people I don't see as actual family members. Those are what I call users that happen to be related to you, unfortunately. It's not, to me, a family member, I mean, there may not be such a thing as the prototypical family member, but I think a good family member, as subjective as this may be, a good family member is one in which is there for you, wants your time, and is not there just to use you. I understand that there's some family members out there that run into some kind of predicament or some unexpected dilemma, and they might need help in a pinch. I understand that, but don't get involved with you don't need to get involved with somebody that's just there just because they want to use you constantly for something, and that's the only time they contact you. There's one family member that used to be prominent in my life that was like that, and she would just constantly contact people when she needed something. And the thing, and really, to me, people catch on to that after a while. Most people aren't, they're not stupid. They're going to figure out if there's some game going on. They'll figure it out at some point. And really, I just say that just, it's good to have a good sized family, but be in contact with the right family members as well. It's about quality, not quantity. Just because you have a lot of family members doesn't mean that they all have your best interests at heart. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment as far as me talking about family. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.